Hello, friends, and welcome to the wonderful, wild world of talking with famous people. It's wild, it's woolly, it's wet, it's wonderful. It's all of those things and more. Is the live chat working? Is the question.
That's definitely my question.
I'm a little unsure about that. There it is.
Thank you, Legends Wall.
You have spoken. Your speaking has been heard. Hence, the chat is operational. So tonight's provocative title is Person versus Ality. Person versus Ality. We talk about personality a lot, but what is the difference between a person and a personality? Well, a personality is the notion that a person behaves basically the same way day in and day out throughout the course of their life. So, in other words, that when you speak to me and you haven't spoken to me in a few weeks, when you speak to me again, I'm going to be more or less the same kind of person as you remember talking to you before. I'm going to have some of the same verbal habits. I'm going to say the same things. I'm going to take the same kind of approaches towards questions. I'm going to have the same attitude towards certain things. A lot of the things about me, my affect, the way I display to other people, will remain unchanged. But the thing that makes that weird is you and I might have a conversation on Tuesday, have a conversation 2 weeks from then on another Tuesday, be about totally different things, and we can nevertheless point to elements of personality that remain the same between both of them. So it's like on one occasion we might be talking about what's that thing I was reading about recently? We might be talking about Elliot Page and the relationship between that individual and that other person or whatever. Another instance might be talking about why a song works well. So what's the real similarity there? How can we determine that somebody's personality is consistent between those two conversations that are about such totally disparate matters?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Big Five, I guess, is an attempt to say the attributes that seem to not change for people across the board throughout their life are extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, and conscientiousness. But to me, that would seem to be fundamentally looking at it backwards, right? Like, to understand a person's personality, one requires an understanding of what comprises a similar way of being between instances, you know? And if we're just talking about those five things, like conscientiousness, like you can think of two instances, me and another individual, that really don't play out on any of those vectors, you know? That aren't about openness, agreeableness, neuroticism, conscientiousness, or extroversion. You know, it's like if Rachel and I are having a conversation about what we should do for dinner, it has something to do with conscientiousness. You could describe it in those terms, but that doesn't mean that our conscientiousness is consistent. It may be broadly consistent that we're going to be a little haphazard in our feeding of ourselves and attending to SI matters.
Yeah.
But in any given instance, we're not necessarily expressive of that. Like, you know, tonight we went to the Jack in the Box for for breakfast, for dinner, and then we went to the grocery store and got some things we needed. And generally had a fairly conscientious day. I cleaned some and took a bath. And
Yeah, you have a very conscientious day.
so the question here, is it because they're ill-defined? The big five terms. I think the problem is they are attributes, not processes. So people, to say somebody has an attribute is meaningful only insofar as you're saying they display behavior or measurable aspect of affect more frequently than the norm. If you were to gather a bunch of data or something like that. But the more clearly you're defining what it is that they do more than the norm, the less meaningful it is because it's still not a process. So like psychologists will try to put together a study that says, well, these are common habits of conscientious people. Conscientious people make lists. Conscientious people, blah, 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 right? This is one way that psychologists attempt to make the big five useful in some regard. Of course, they've still got the cart before the horse because it's not that conscientious people make lists. It's that people who make lists are more likely to be described as conscientious.
Yes.
Right? It's completely fucking back-assward. So, the thing is, the reason why it's back-assward is because people don't have attributes. They engage in an ongoing set of processes, some of which they prioritize over other processes. Some of which are mutually exclusive or conflicting in some ways, some of which have to be subsumed by each other or not. And there's complicated relationships between the ways that we pay attention. But, you know, being a receiver of information means Rachel is much more comfortable inherently with consuming media as an end in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? For me, I tend to feel like, I need to be getting shit done. I'm being lazy if I'm consuming media. There's no inherent reason to think that consuming media is a lazy thing to do, right? There's the idea that not doing is lazy. It's in and of itself a cognitive function bias being imposed on people by the outside world, especially by doers, doers and TEers. So the fact is, like, a person's being, Rachel's being is naturally in a receiving mode. She can offer what she knows about things after she's received a lot of stuff. But if you're expecting her to generate a lot of random words about a lot of random things, then, that's just not her style exactly. She plays well off of me. Like earlier, I was pretending to be Judy.
Yes. Judy was having some complications, and maybe I was having complications understanding Judy, and Judy was helping me. I like to act. So.
There's an email from me that I'm planning to read that looks interesting, but I haven't actually read it yet. Today's the first day I've been feeling okay for a while, so.
What?
It's about more. Just said the title of it or something is like another perspective on transgenderism.
Oh.
It was probably following a discussion we had about whether transgenderism, whether the surgeries comprise body dysmorphia or something like that. I don't know what Morge's comment about it is, but I do plan on reading that email. So, Schreier points out, Eric, isn't laziness defined by doing in the first place? Well, you see, this is the thing. Imagine this. Imagine you're a catcher in a baseball game. But it's a baseball game where every time the pitcher throws a ball, it gets scuffed in the dirt. So it's never the case that the catcher throws the ball back to the pitcher. It's always the umpire throwing out a new ball to the pitcher after every single pitch, okay? Now, the catcher's doing nothing but catching balls. Is he, therefore, doing nothing at all? No, he's receiving. The point is, to receive is itself a form of being, just as to do is a form of being, and to know is a form of being. To deliberate is a form of being, to interface is a form of being. So I think that the idea that doing and laziness are connected suggests that one form of being is normatively preferable to another. And so that's why I would suggest that there's something wrong with that. It's like Fomel Hot said earlier. I never signed the contract where I had to earn my existence or something like that. I find that a very compelling notion. Like, I think most of us, maybe, or me, maybe just me, I have certainly a powerful sense of needing to earn my existence, that I have to attain in some way to justify my very being, if you will.
Yeah. I used to think that more of being with you helps me not be that way.
Okay, well let's imagine a baseball game where they just decide that once a ball has been thrown once, it's too used to use again. So they're going to replace it with a new one every time. They replace balls in baseball games all the time for any little reason. It's like there's never a thought in a baseball game by an umpire or some other official in the game. We should really conserve the amount of baseballs we're using in this game. They use baseballs like crazy.
Yeah, they even have ball boys for.
If the outfielder at the end of an inning catches the last out, a lot of times he'll throw the ball into the stand. He doesn't even feel any obligation to give it back to the umpire at the end of the inning.
No.
So it's like they're really willy-nilly with the ball usage in baseball. They really are.
They are.
So
the only time they're really like tight about it is if it's like a grand slam or if it's like a number that someone like reached, like batting average.
Right.
But like other than that,
that's definitely how it is in the majors, though. If the ball touches dirt, it's no good.
Yeah, it's like
you may not use the.
Nope,
I'm not throwing.
Give it to
I'm not throwing this dirty ball. You've got to be kidding me! It's filthy. I'm gonna get clay on my hand. It is quite ridiculous, right?
I used to want to be. As a kid, I wanted to be a ball girl. I thought it'd be fun.
You'll note they don't do that in football. It's
No,
not it's not. I mean, they have a few footballs, and occasionally you'll see a football get thrown up into the stands by a player, but
yeah, they rarely do that.
By and large, they only have a few footballs in there.
Yeah.
They expect those few footballs to last during the course of the whole game.
Yeah, they do.
Right? Whereas
they do. That's why
in baseball, they've got like buckets and buckets of them. Dirt might cause slippage. Oh, okay. Well, but it could be also dirt would be like a spitball. Like the ball will move funny because it's got a little bit of extra weight on one side. Like
they do that, don't
yeah,
they?
Players will either spit on it, pitchers will either spit on it or scuff it in a certain way to make it move funny. They do different kind of cheaty stuff. And then, there was that one famous highlight of a pitcher who had like a emery board or something with them, some sort of scratchy device that he was using to cheat, to scratch the ball and make it move more. And then the umpire came and was like, let me search you. And he's like, what? And he just like throws it behind him like this.
Funny.
And then you can see it right there. And the umpire's like, ah. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know which highlight I'm talking about. It's old. It's from like the late 70s probably. But the pitcher was like hiding something, and he pulls out his pocket, and he's just like, "What? See, it's nowhere." And he's like tosses it behind him. In the olden days in football, they used to use this stuff called stickum, and there was one particular DB on the Raiders. I forget what his name was now, but he was famous for going out to play with he just dunked his hands like full on in this shit stickum, right? And he got a lot of picks, and he just like put his hand up, and like the ball would just stick to his hand because he just had all this sticky goo all over his hands. And then eventually they made that stuff illegal in football. Anybody else here remember stickum when stickum was allowed? Or does anybody remember the DB who was most famous for using stickum on the Raiders? I bet I could Google that and find out right now. Let's see. Which DB was most famous for using stickum? Joe Necro's Emery board. Oh, okay.
There you go.
So there's a video, I think probably the one that I'm talking about. I think it looks like Winston's mom found it. I'm going to mute it and see what this looks like. Is this the footage? Let's see.
He put it in his pocket. Oh, he put it in his.
Yeah, this is it. He's like, what? What? I don't have anything. He throws it out of his back pocket. Yeah, that's exactly the one, Winston's mom. That's totally the one. He's like, okay, you got it.
I've only had one kind of moment like that ever. Oh, it's so terrible.
It's like trying to throw drugs away while the cops are chasing.
Yeah.
Or searching you.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the answer to the question I have, which is, which DB was most famous for using stickum? Hayes, yes. Lester Hayes. That's right. Lester the Molester, he was known as. Because of his bump and run coverage. He was also known for using stickum before it was banned in 1981 by a rule bearing his name. The Lester Hayes rule says you may not use stickum.
Wow.
Lester Hayes. Hayes was introduced to stickum, an adhesive substance used by players to improve their grip in the 1977 rookie season by Hall of Fame wide receiver and fellow teammate Fred Biletnikoff. However, instead of just applying a small amount to his hands, he began to slather it all over his arms and even his uniform.
Oh my gosh!
Drawing more and more attention to it. In 6 seasons that played following the banning of stickum, he had 14 total interceptions compared to his 25 that he had in his first 4 seasons. So he just like totally abused it, I guess, and that's why they had to ban it. He put it all over his arms and his uniform.
Oh my God. It's so funny.
Oh, Lester Hayes. You so crazy.
Why did they call him the molester?
Because he was so good at bump and run coverage, which means it's like in bump and run coverage, you play a press up front. When they make their move at the receiver, you bump them before the 5-yard mark where it counts. We count as defensive holding, and then you run right with them the whole rest of the way. So in other words, you bump them initially to stop them from having a jump on you, and then you match them just right by them side by side the whole way. So it's like, there's a lot of physical closeness between the two players. And if you're really, really good at playing bump and run coverage of the DB, you could be said to be molesting the receiver.
I had no idea.
Right, you have to cheat in acceptable ways is right. stealing signs apparently is not an acceptable way of cheating in baseball. Emery boards, not an acceptable way of cheating. Steroids, jury's still out. Steroids might be okay.
I don't know about that. They had a lot of juries say that wasn't okay.
Well, like Hideo Nomo's delivery. When he threw the first base out of that delivery, was he really balking every time?
I don't know. Oh!
I'm bringing back a bit of an old baseball controversy, but
I don't know.
I don't know. The way he had his delivery, his delivery was like this. He went, "Mah," and then he paused and he slowed, but sometimes he threw to first. And there were people out there who said, "Yo, Hideo, that's a balk." And he said, "No, there's before a pause in my delivery."
Oh.
Or you can steal signs just not using cameras and tech. The old hidden ball trick is a legal cheating,
What, like
I'm the first baseman, I get the ball, okay. The pitcher threw it to me, right? To make the runner come back to first base because the runner has a lead. Okay, the runner takes the lead back. I walk towards the pitcher. I go, "Here, pitcher, let me give you the ball." Give him the ball. I walk back to the first base. I've secretly still got the ball in my glove. And I go, "Okay, let's go, pitcher, let's go." And then the guy who's on first base takes his lead, and I go, "Ha ha! I've still got the ball."
I had no idea.
And you got him like that. That's the hidden ball trick.
I didn't know that you could do that. Wow, learn something new every day.
Hidden ball trick is douchey but legal. Well, you see, football makes everything that's kind of cheaty illegal. So a recent thing that football made illegal was lying down in the end zone when your uniform matches the color of it. So there was this trend recently of in kickoffs, the receiver, they have two kick receivers in the back in the end zone ready to receive the kickoff. Well, one of them would lie down. Like if they had a green uniform, it was a green touchdown area, then they'd lie down and blend in. And the blockers would all move like they were blocking for this guy over here. And the opposing players would just see this guy over here. And they'd see all the blocking suggesting that this guy over here was getting the ball. And this guy over here would run like he was about to catch the ball, right? And then at the last second, this guy over here would pop up, grab the ball, and run down here. And all the people are over on this side of the field, right?
Oh my God.
So they made that illegal. You can't do that anymore. I don't think they should have made that illegal. I think that's a fun play. I like that play.
Well, what if it's not lying down? What if it's standing up? Because still you can be like, no, you'd be showing.
Well, the rule is you can't make any effort to like hide yourself, basically. Yeah.
That is kind of fun.
But I really like that kind of creativity in football, and
yeah.
I don't like the fact that they get rid of it completely.
I know they are pretty strict with football.
But you say way too many flags in football, maybe, but the sport that definitely has too many fouls is basketball.
Yeah,
basketball is like
fouls.
Nothing but fouls.
I don't even know what the fouls are for sometimes.
A lot of times they're just even strategic fouls.
Yeah,
when you have a game that involves a lot of strategic fouls at the end, that's a poorly designed game, if you want to ask me. Morgana was quite a character. Yeah, she was quite a character back in the day. I remember her from like the old blooper reels they show at Dodger Stadium. So in the olden days, they'd show like a blooper reel at Dodger Stadium, and maybe they change it once a month, maybe, if that often. And you see the same bloopers periodically. Okay, well, I have played basketball plenty like this fall, but I haven't played organized basketball. I used to play a lot of pickup basketball, but the thing
I
is,
would say that there is a lot of strategic fouls in in basketball.
At the
especially
end of the
pro.
game. At the end of the game, right? I'm talking about as a viewer, though. Okay, as a viewer, I hate it when you're at the end of the game and, yeah, like 3-point fouls, and like Reggie Miller, he used to, when he'd go up to shoot a 3-pointer, he'd kick his legs out, kick the person who was guarding him, and draw the foul that way. It was just like, okay, fuck you, Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
When does basketball become like soccer?
Nah.
Soccer, of course, is absolutely ridiculous with their ridiculous diving and just oh my leg, oh my god,
Yep.
is it still connected? Is it hanging by a thread? The point is that basketball is not a contact sport. Okay, that's why there are all those fouls called, because it's not a contact sport, but it ends up getting very pushy and shovey. I just find that it's like you can really tell the difference when you have a officiated basketball game and a poorly officiated one. A poorly officiated basketball game, start calling a bunch of ticky-tack shit, little
Oh, I can't
touch
take that.
thing, and it's just like, okay, come on, let them play.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I get the fact that that if somebody hits your arm while you're shooting, that disrupts your shot, and it's a foul. The problem, therefore, in my mind, is one of basic game construction. Really, if they wanted to have it be a no contact sport, they need to penalize fouls more heavily to dissuade the people from fouling. So it's like if every foul got 3 free throws, and every made shot with a foul got 2 additional free throws instead of 1, people will be much more hesitant to foul. As it stands right now, there's a lot of circumstances in which strategically is a wise decision to foul basketball. I think that's bad. Right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of muscling around for position underneath the basket, Who gives a shit? The world is going to burn. Well, is it currently burning? If it's not currently burning, then my attention shouldn't be on putting it out, I guess. Yo. Hello, Jeff Shaw. Yo to you too. I reciprocate your yo. What's the most NTP song? I don't want to wait for my life to be over before I eat a lot of cheese. A whole lot of cheese. That one. Basketball is the dumbest sport in the world. Come at me. I'm coming at you. You better watch it. Hold me back, everybody. Hold me back. Hold me back, everybody. Hold me back. Yeah. And then they try to do makeup calls, but it's too late because they call the bad call in the important situation, and then it's too late when they try to make up the call, and it's just like, fuck that. Yeah. I like MMA fine. I can watch MMA. I like boxing. I like MMA. I like horse racing too. Probably because I grew up right next to this horse racing track. I actually do like tennis. My dad's a big tennis fan. One of the things I like about tennis is it goes all year round. I can't watch swimming. No, I've never watched swimming. I've recently become, within the last few years, kind of a fan of golf, which is strange because I used to think hey, golf's boring.
I used to think the same thing.
But now I kind of like it. I find it soothing.
I
Is
like it
basketball
too.
racist? Basketball can't be racist. It's not a person. You like watching billiards kind of pool? Yeah, I could watch that maybe. Which sounds pretty interesting. I tell you what's not easy to watch: darts. Darts is not easy to watch. Have you ever watched lightning and thunder? You mean actual lightning and thunder outside? Yeah. But if you're talking about a movie or something, not that I know of. I don't recall watching anything by that name. I have watched lightning and heard thunder in real life before. You think the taste for golf is an acquired one, and the condition for the acquisition is to merely pass your 40th birthday? That's possible. I like soccer. I do. I worked in the World Cup that was in the United States where they had the final at the Rose Bowl in which Brazil played Italy. I worked at the Rose Bowl during that whole World Cup. I saw a bunch of World Cup games. And ever since then, I've kind of been into soccer.
When was that?
88 maybe?
Wow. That's cool.
Interestingly, I didn't stick around for the end of the Italy Brazil game. We were allowed to leave at the end of the regulation time, and I was done at that point. I just didn't feel like sticking around. We didn't have a seat. You had to stand if you wanted to. As an usher, if you wanted. 1994? Okay. 1988, 1994, something like that. I've never been troubled by either lightning or thunder. Even as a little kid, I always found them exciting, not scary.
What?
Lightning and thunder.
Oh, me too.
I always wanted more big storm, not less. I guess you could say I even had, an inappropriate emotional response to natural disasters. As long as they didn't happen to me, I always were like, ooh, how exciting. I want to see the footage of the natural disaster. I never really personalized it or thought of it in terms of people suffering. And nowadays, I understand more how, well, for one thing, they seem to be no longer very rare events. And for another thing, I'm much more conscious of how much they mess up people's lives, So I don't have that same sort of like, ooh, cool, something different that I used to have as a kid. That was basically the gist of it. It was like, oh, this is exciting. Everybody's taking this seriously.
Yeah.
I'm looking for these things. So Rachel and I went to grocery outlet earlier.
Yes, we did.
And among the things that we purchased there were these lemon sodas that were 4 bottles for 99 cents. What? That's cheap, Eric.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I'm curious if they're just awful. Is that why they were so cheap?
I should have opened one.
Well, not too late.
It's not too late?
It's not too late if you want to go grab one and open one.
Yeah.
They're probably coldish by now.
Yeah.
Colder than when we got them, anyway.
Should I just open one or do you want one?
Yeah, let's split one.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Thank you. Legend Fall. I'm just going to go ahead and hide the user right now because that's just so ridiculous. You think thunder troubles me? Oh, that's not my experience. But I don't know. Maybe you know me better than I do. It's good.
Yeah.
Um, 0 probably.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I don't believe in race, so even if I were to use the word, it would be purely an ironic mocking of meaninglessness.
Winston's mom, I wanted to thank you for the toaster. That was such a nice surprise.
Jonathan Mitchell, can you try a little bit harder so I don't have to ban you immediately? I look like an SS guard?
What?
Really? Because of my blonde hair and blue eyes, or what? FE 2 or 3, probably. Maybe 1. I'm very aware of it, but I repeat myself sometimes. I will generally say, or a lot of that's true, Donovan Mitchell. And I bet you don't have blonde hair and blue eyes either. Does that make you Hitler? Or just dumb? Ay, ay, ay. Look, I think we all know the following thing. An Aryan is just a word that refers to someone who's from an area. Okay? So everyone is Aryan as a consequence.
Yes.
If you're from some area, you are Aryan. Okay, I don't get your metaphor here. What about them? They're groupists, like all other groupists, you know? Groupists are stupid. What do you want me to tell you? Was Hitler a vegetarian?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, Donovan Mitchell. If you had anything intelligent to say, I wouldn't bother hiding you, but since you're just overtly, brazenly racist and stupid, we'll just hide you. Hitler also apparently really loved his dogs, so
Yeah.
I don't think that means dog lovers are inherently Hitler.
Right?
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Who's in Gamma, Aaron?
I think that's your NTJs and your SFPs, or is it your NFPs and your STJs? No, I think it's your NTJs and your SFPs.
Okay.
Look, typology groupism is more acceptable than other kinds of groupism because when I'm talking about typology, I'm trying to say, look, because you prioritize being the best at volleyball, you don't prioritize being the least active person. Those things are exclusive of each other, right? You can't both prioritize being inactive and being the best at volleyball. That's a simple example of how exclusivity of attention works, right? You can't prioritize both concurrently, and you can't prioritize both consistently across time. There is they come into conflict with each other. In other words, if you're really wanting to prioritize being inactive, then you have to choose to not go to volleyball practice. I mean, you can try to play word games with it This is quite good, don't you think?
Yeah, it really is.
I like it a lot. For 25 cents for this bottle of
Right?
lemon soda is really
It's good.
really quite good.
I spin a lot of it.
Well, I mean, I think that it's anthropology is a somewhat unique kind of thing because it's attempting to understand reality and explain it in ways that include the speaker, whereas almost every other kind of reality explanation doesn't include the speaker. It tries to exclude the speaker. So in other words, if I'm a psychologist and I'm doing serious psychology work, I'm not factoring in my own attentional approach, you know? So as a consequence, I'm trying to be objective, right? I'm trying to remove all the subject from the equation. But a good explanation of human being explains why the person who's explaining human being is explaining it the way they're explaining it. And it's almost like the first thing that needs to be explained, right?
It's actually funny, Winston's mom, because I'm the one who said, yes, get the get the toaster. So it's like we had a little sync miss. I couldn't have guessed that you were going to guess a toaster. So there was no way. But it's fine. We're happy with it.
Joshua, I don't want to play guessing games. If you have something specific to tell me about what you mean by lightning and thunder and how I'm scared of thunder and not by lightning,
yeah, that's strange.
Then just explain what you mean.
Please.
Okay? I'm not going to dig around for the purpose of your metaphor. If you don't have anything specific you mean, then that's fine too. But don't try to play, guess, Eric, or something. I don't want to play that game. I don't know what you mean. I honestly have no fucking idea. I could generate ideation around it, but if you mean something, tell me what it is. If someone's eighth function better or worse to that function than one has the same one in their third, they play out very differently. In the third slot, it's an absolute value that's important to you. In the eighth slot, it's something that you generally turn to that does what you expect it to within your frame. So, like, if you see my dad's FE, you might say my dad's FE is shitty, or you might say it's good, depending on when you look at him interacting with people. But eighth slot FE is eighth slot FE is it's like my dad will say something like, I know I've told you this story before, and then proceed to tell it again. Like, as long as you do the FE signaling, it's okay or something. It's not really concerned about other people's perceptions, just that you've done the TE checklist on it. Jeff Shaw asks, you want me to guide you? Jeff Shaw, look, you came in, you asked, are you more afraid of lightning or thunder? I said, neither, actually. As a kid, I found them both kind of exciting. I liked big storms and stuff like that. And then you said, no, you like lightning, but are scared of thunder. And I said, okay, well, explain what you mean. And they say, you want me to guide you? No, just like I said, if you have something that you mean, explain it. If you don't, that's fine too. So I want you to guide me because I'm not looking for a destination. I'm waiting for you to explain what you mean. It doesn't require guidance. It requires you to explain. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. Okay, here I go. Here's Jeff's explanation. I'm excited to see what it is. So to do proper typology of psychology in general, you have to be metacognizant of your metacognition in the first place. Are you trying to imply only NTPs, probably NFJs can do proper psych? Well, I'm saying that it's conceivable to make it clear that that the metaframe comprises a legitimate frame. In other words, it's not beyond non-meta analysts to get the idea of framing it through a process analysis. It's just not been standardized yet as an understanding, right? So I think that's the best explanation for it. It's like if personality explanation were normalized as something that explains why and how certain attentional habits become reflexive and habituated, and why and how others are definitionally or necessarily excluded or inversely proportional or some other kind of relationship like that. Because it's obvious when you say something like, okay, I cannot both take out all my toys and play with them and concurrently put all my toys away and organize them. Those two things cannot be done at the same time. They're exclusive activities, right? And if I'm consistently taking out my toys and playing with them and consistently not putting them back and organizing them, then I am going to be called not conscientious by the Big Five. In reality, what that means is I'm prioritizing to a certain kind of attention over another kind of attention, right?
What kind of bug is that?
The spider.
Oh.
It's a barely harmless spider.
Okay. That's all I care about.
And that's the thing. Does personality box you in? Well, this is the person versus ality thing, right? For people who reject NI in general, they either countervalue it or they have it polar. Polar NI is going to be the least interested in personality because they're the least likely to see people as expressions of a pattern. Fourth slot NI is going to be kind of interested in it, but without the TI, if you got it in ESFPs, they're probably going to be all over the place about it, I mean, the thing about conscientiousness is as a word, it reveals its angle of perception, right? It's a third party's angle of perception on you. Are you conscientious according to a third party? Well, if you fulfill all your obligations to that third party, as you say you're going to, then you'll be considered conscientious, right? So it's very much treating the person as an object to use conscientiousness as a personality attribute. And one of the things I say about personality is that to really understand it well, you need to account for the fact that we exist as agents, as subjects, and as objects. Okay. Lightning, you understand. Thunder, you don't. Yet they're tied together, not unlike cognitive functions. You can't focus on one and neglect the other way and just getting warmed up. Okay. Well, some cognitive functions you can isolate better than others. So, as a matter of fact, a function like extroverted intuition isolates relatively well, at least from its tool function, TI or FI. In other words, an ENFP and an ENTP can NE riff off of each other, just primarily relying on NE and SI attentional matters. Now, the axes go together, right? Because they comprise extroverted intuition. Either emerges from building off of something something you hear, something you see, something, right? Usually SI. Your sister does your nuts in with her NI polar nonsense. I mean, NI polar is just, it's not, it doesn't believe you can have, it doesn't have any faith in patterns. So, Okay, there. Okay. So anyway, it's like it's I still struggle to understand quite the way in which an interface function and a knowledge function ever operate independently of one another. That I'm not sure of. So it's like it seems as though your interface functions, your knowledge functions, NIFE, for example, NITE, SITE, SIFE, or vice versa, that those pairs require each other to work. It's like to interface successfully, you've got to know what someone else's social is, and you got to know without deliberating. So it makes sense that to have that kind of immediate responsiveness to other people's emotional changes in the moment would require a kind of flexibility that uses knowledge and interface rather than action and deliberation. And it sort of feels as though it's harder to distinguish between the interface and the knowledge function than it is to distinguish between the action and the deliberation function. No, Jeff Shaw, actually not talking about your metaphor at all at the moment. Talking about something entirely different. Still don't understand your metaphor. If what I just said is an example of my failure to understand something, then I'm not sure you were listening to my words, because what I was expressing was that, in fact, it seems less likely that knowledge and interface, that one can interface without knowledge, and then one can act without deliberation. That doesn't show a lack of understanding. It is a good explanation. I mean, there is an expression, don't leap before you look. But there's not really an equivalent expression, don't schmooze before you know. You know what I'm saying? The reason being, you could say like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do is kind of a interface aphorism, right? Right. Jeff Shaw, you're not going to be able to just sort of, you're not going to be able to just gesture at meaning and get anything accomplished. So whether it's a shortcoming of mine or not, I like to have things expressed in non-metaphorical terms. So if you're just saying there's some NI truth here that I'm not getting, that's metaphorical, that's holistic, they can't be parsed down, and that you can only sort of gesture at for me to understand it, well, I think you're barking up a dead tree, kind of. It's like, I understand that there are holistic truths, but I'm unlikely to be convinced by your guru theater, for lack of a better word. I think that's really what it is. I mean, anybody want to give me a what on this? It's kind of guru theater, Oh. It's way more guru theater than I ever do.
I'm having trouble following.
It's like, I've never called myself, seriously anyway, any kind of guru. I don't claim to be wiser about how to live than anybody. My claims are much more specific than that. I claim to be more correct about position statements than the people who disagree with me most of the time. It's a very different kind of relationship with the audience than being guru-y, right? You might be able to accuse me sometimes of being guru-y, but by and large, that ain't my style. So when I accuse you of guru theatrics, I'm not projecting, which might be a logical thing to conclude, given the fact that I've got the pulpit, so to speak. But I'm saying, yes, this is my scrotum, and yes, it has a lot of folds. A scrotum's like a brain. Its power is determined by its surface area. You want the most wrinkly scrotum you can get. Eric, can you think of an effective way to explain to people that they need a good reason to believe something such that they listen to it? Also, how to explain what constitutes a good reason? No, I've yet to be able to find that thing. The best I can do is to remind people, look, there's a difference between believing something and affirming it. To affirm something is to say, I believe it and you should believe it too. And so be careful with that. If you're going to tell me I should believe something too, then if you're going to affirm something, then you really need to have good reasons for it, because you're not just saying I believe this and you're welcome to if you'd like, but you're saying you should believe it too. It's one of the reasons why I say about Christianity, I oppose evangelism. I'm of the mindset that let's take the approach that Alcoholics Anonymous suggests, which is attraction rather than promotion. I'm claiming to be knowledgeable, and I am not. I am typing people based on lightning, yet neglect the thunder. Well, I am claiming to be knowledgeable, and I am knowledgeable. Now, you might claim that my knowledge is incomplete, that I'm wrong about something specific, but if you had something specific that I were wrong about, you would specifically articulate it rather than referring to it enigmatically as thunder.
Yeah, I couldn't get that at all.
So you don't have anything specific that you want to accuse me of doing wrong as far as typology goes. You're just accusing me of failing to consider important factors that you have left undefined. So, okay, I mean, that's what, it's like, that's what I'm talking about with guru theater, you know? Jeff Shaw, you are as back and forth as a schoolgirl with her crush, I tell you. Half the time,
it's a good analogy.
You're giggling and pulling my hair, and half the time you're shitting in my lunch pail. It's like, okay, dude, chillax. I should know. I mean, Jeff Shaw, you can try to throw everything back at me if you want, but it just doesn't hold any water. You know, it's like, the thing is, you have to say something. No, I'm not reeling. Just making the claim that I'm reeling would suggest that I'm being punched back and forth, back and forth. You haven't said anything, Jeff Shaw. You said, I don't understand thunder. You mean the noise that happens after lightning? I'm pretty sure I get it. I do get thunder. I understand it.
I'm not.
So if you have anything else you'd like to say that's actually a meaningful thing to say, go for it. You can tell me I'm reeling. You can tell me I should know. You can tell me I'm faking it or whatever. If you have an actual critique of something I say or do, say it. Otherwise, you're just blowing smoke, dude. And not the good kind. The words that happen after action. What are you talking about? What action am I taking right now?
I'm very confused too.
Yeah, dude, if you cannot express it non-enigmatically, then you're weak at expressing yourself. I think I get the basic gist of what you're saying, but it would be so much more effective if you were to simply say, Eric, you need to take more action or evaluate more empirical data that's not language related or something. I mean, make the point you actually have to make instead of dressing it up in guru dress, right? And being enigmatic. I mean, this is something I keep coming back to with you. I am absolutely willing to listen to your critiques. If they are accurate, I'm excited to learn from them. But I will not play along with your Jeff Shaw is a mysterious guru game that you like to play. It's silly. Well,
Wow.
was that what you were doing this morning, Rachel? Is that where you ran off to?
Pulling these channels out of my ass. There's a lot of butt stuff. And no, Tiny Man 66 is not weird that you're going to listen to the stream on headphones. I used to do the same thing.
I mean, I will continue maintaining that nobody's really privy to everything I'm looking for or searching for when I'm asking questions, because I'm not even aware of what I'm looking for or searching for necessarily when I'm asking questions. And, you know, I take kind of a roundabout, as much art as science approach to typing somebody. You might disapprove of it. You might think I'm doing it poorly. You might think I should do something differently or whatever. But, you know, there's a tendency of NI people to ignore the value of SI. It is important that you be operating under the right framework, which I'm quite confident I am. But it also matters that I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of typings, right? So it's like, I guess one of the messages in this is give a little credit to your older self. To give a little credit to your older self is necessarily probably to give a little credit to me. I've got a lot of experience doing this, and I basically pioneered what I believe to be the correct framework for cognitive functions. Now, I may still be imperfect about it, but those basic facts are the truth. And if you want to hate me about it, but don't lie to yourself, you know? I am, matter of fact, I am clear and concise. I try to be not enigmatic. I lay everything out there for everybody to critique, hear, understand. I say it in multiple different ways. I'm a professional educator and a debate coach. I'm used to teaching even very complex argumentation to young kids. So I make no bones about it. I am clear, concise. Where I am uncertain, I say I'm uncertain. Where I still have to figure things out, I say I still have to figure things out. So, no, I don't see things in terms of your metaphor still, Jeff Shaw. I don't understand what distinction you're trying to make is. One thing is that the flash, and one thing is the sound. You're saying I'm focusing too much on the flash and not on the sound. And I'm supposed to take away from this that I'm being fooled by shows of meow, displays of meow intended to fool me. I mean, I factored those kind of gaming vectors in hundreds of typings ago, Jeff Shaw. I'm a smart guy. I'm an intuitive. I know what I'm doing, you know? I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. Thank you, Legends Fall. I'm a super cowboy spaceship ninja. Seamus is a super cowboy spaceship ninja. Why don't you shit on him a little bit? He's making bolder claims than me. I wonder who this person is who hates me so much.
Me too.
Cloud? Queen's Gambit? Becky?
Someone was quick because like they took. It looks like that's a recent picture of you. So they took the picture maybe from the still.
Yeah, it might be this shirt. It almost looks like it has writing on it, but I guess it doesn't.
No, you have your mug in your hand.
Oh, okay. When I hear the words lightning and thunder, what I really actually think about is what I actually think about is Lindale White and Reggie Bush. Because with USC football, and with a lot of football teams, you often have a big back that is a punishing running back and a small back that's fast. When USC was at its absolute pinnacle, we had Lindale White and Reggie Bush as our two running backs, thunder and lightning. And I remember the tragedy, the great, horrible tragedy. This is when Thunder failed. It was really Pete Carroll's fault. It was in the Rose Bowl game. It was against Vince Young's Texas team. And it was 4th and 1. And fucking Pete Carroll called a handout to Lindale White from deep in the backfield. You know, it's like you got to if you have a play that takes too long to develop, then obviously it's not going to do you any good in 4th and 1, right? Thank you, Legend Fall. Appreciate that. That's what I think about when I think about thunder and lightning. The thing is, Jeff Shaw, that I keep coming back to is it must be frustrating for you to see something so clearly that's so important and be so unable to express it clearly. Why is that exactly? Because normally when I see things clearly, my mom always said, you don't really understand something until you have to teach it. Then you understand it. Like when I had to teach conditional logic, I really had to learn conditional logic. I had to learn from the book first, and then I had to teach it. When I had to teach grammar at Samuelson Grammar, I didn't understand grammar prior to that. I really had to learn it. I learned sentence diagramming, and now I can parse out any sentence you can give me and tell you what every part of speech is working as and every part of the sentence, all the clauses, phrases, everything, you know? But until I had to teach it, I didn't really understand grammar because I never had any reason to actually understand it.
Yeah.
So I think what my mom was saying there about how you don't really understand something until you have to teach it is pretty important here. If you can't teach it to me, I have my doubts about whether you understand something. Because I'm not a slow learner. I'm able to get complex concepts very quickly. I'm able to process written language and spoken language very quickly. Atmosphere disruption in the atmosphere, like storms and stuff, clouds. I mean, high pressure and low pressure systems.
This is so weird.
It's like, will you stop playing Socratic method with me?
Are you?
And as I've explained many times before to other teachers when I'm mentoring them, here's what you should never do. Never, ever try to teach by the Socratic method. After all, you're the teacher. You know the information. They're the students. They don't know it. Tell them the information they need to know. Duh. Don't ask them to answer questions they don't know the answers to yet. I don't know the answer to your question, Jeff Shaw. So why don't you tell me? Teach me. I had idiots like this as staff before when I was director of Kudos. I had to go and say, do not try to use this Socratic method shit. All it is putting pressure on people's extroverted intuition for no goddamn good reason.
I'm a little bit bad.
Okay. I probably won't be too far behind you.
Okay. Do you?
It's like, what is the advantage you get, Jeff Shaw, for not saying what you mean in as plain a language as you can? Is it because you don't think it's going to sound impressive enough if you just say it straight out, whatever it is you mean?
I love you.
I love you too, darling. I mean, there aren't unbendable truths per se, because truth is, remember, first and foremost, a status we affix to statements. Some statements we afford a status of true. Some statements we afford a status of false, and some statements we afford a status of no truth value. A statement like, you get the lightning, but you don't get the thunder, you would call a statement that has either no truth value or a truth value of false. If you take it literally, I understand both lightning and thunder. If you take it figuratively, I don't understand what you mean, because it's not a statement then that has truth value. It's simple cause and effect. And I could say it straight out. Jeff Shaw, it's not a matter of being smart enough or not. A smart person doesn't want to waste time playing games when you can just tell him, right? That's just silly. I've got communications with lots of people who perhaps could teach me something, right? Who maybe do have words that are willing to teach me. I don't want to play this game with you. Certainly, I don't consider my intelligence to be predicated on my willingness to play this game with you. I reject that notion entirely. So, I don't know what to tell you. That's not going to really fly around here. I don't know what is up with this bullshit spam is right. It's obviously one person who keeps making new accounts and doing the same thing. I'm always curious about these people, because whoever it is putting a lot of time and energy just to be very briefly disruptive. The best they could hope for is this, where it becomes a topic of conversation as to what motivates someone like that. It's like, it's not like it's impacting in any way, shape, or form meaningfully. They just get hidden right away. It's just a slight annoyance. But for them, it's a whole lot of hassle to do a slight annoyance. So it's on a cost benefit analysis, they're losing dramatically. It makes you wonder, like, I guess that's the definition of spite. When you're willing to lose on a cost-benefit analysis as long as you hurt the other guy, that's spite. That's just straight up spite. I like the inherent optimism in hoping it's only one person. Inherent optimism. I'm quite sure it's only one person, because the style's so consistent. Style of attack is so consistent. So you're saying I understand cause but not effect? I disagree with you. How would we judge understanding effect and understanding cause? In other words, what's a metric that we can test a third party with and come to some sort of agreement with? Do you have such a metric? There's no reason to believe that I understand cause but not effect. In fact, it makes zero sense to conclude that one could understand cause without understanding effect, because implicit to the definition of cause is that it creates an effect. So that's just silly. Enigma Wave, you are not nearly as enigmatic as Jeff Shaw. But your name is way more enigmatic than Jeff Shaw's. Jeff Shaw's name is not enigmatic. He's got a good old-fashioned, straight-up American name. He's Jeff Shaw. Here. The point is that Eric is in the darkness, in a fog of ignorance, whereas Jeff Shaw is trying to illuminate his vision in this fog of ignorance to help him to see a broader truth that he's currently missing. That's the point, okay? And Jeff Shaw is wiser than me. That's the point. You can tell because Jeff Shaw's not wearing a shirt like this. Focus on cause neglects effect. Can you give us an example, as Legends False says? I mean, I think in general, the ability of human beings to predict the effects of their actions is very limited. I think that knower interfacers tend to overestimate their own capacity to predict the impacts of their actions. There's good data to suggest that in multivariate complex systems, the human capacity to predict assorted impacts from a given action is very, very limited. So, I mean, yeah, you're much more heuristic based than I am, and you are able to draw conclusions about the future that I won't put any weight into, right? You're able to afford more certainty to things that I won't put weight into, but that's because I'm more careful of a thinker than you are. I mean, I guess maybe what Jeff Shaw's trying to get at is that I'm constantly fooled. Somebody displays some sort of cognitive function display, and I take it for what it apparently is without thinking any deeper than that. Of course, that's fucking nonsense. That's absolutely fucking nonsense. You know, I'm a smart intuitive too. Yeah. I'm not perfect. I don't doubt there are plenty of examples of typing sessions where random person X gets their type sooner than I do. But that same random person X isn't going to be as consistently correct as I am across the board. You know, sometimes I'm amazed at how long it takes me to figure out somebody. And sometimes I figure them out right away. And sometimes I think I haven't figured out right away and then determine I'm wrong. So that's all part of my process. That's how I type. It may not be your process, but it's an effective one. And I stand by it as the most likely to correctly type people of the available processes used to type people. So I maintain that position. I think it's the truth. And I get a lot of critique from a lot of people, but I handle it all. I take it all. I deal with it all. I respond to it, you know? And so the thing is, one of the big reasons why people should take my typology more seriously is because I am very much subject to public scrutiny. I publish my sessions whenever the clients let me. Even sometimes I'll publish one going to go, I don't use elements of ontology. I'm not completely dismissive of it, okay? I do think that, well, I mean, as it currently expresses, I'm pretty much completely dismissive of it. But I do think that there are physical cues that tend to correlate with type. I think, in particular, there's only one really that I'm aware of. And I try not to use it because I don't think it's not an explanation, you know? It's not an explanation. So, but I do think that beta quadra has beta quadra eyes typically. And I try not to let that influence me when I'm typing people. Because when I try to explain to somebody why they're a given type, if I say, oh, well, you look like an INFJ, then and that's not an explanation, right? I agree. I've typed an occasional INFJ or ISTP who didn't have beta quadra eyes. I've typed an occasional beta quadra eye person as something other than beta quadra as well, which is one of the reasons why I try to exclude it from my consideration. I mean, like I said, I don't dismiss it completely. I do think there are some correlations. Sometimes I'll see a little kid out in the world and I'll go, look at that little INFJ or look at that little ENFJ or whatever. They just look totally like that textbook teardrop face, big eyes, famous person with beta quadra eyes. Like the lady who played the wife in that movie about the levels of dreams, Inception. The woman who played the dead wife in Inception, she's got textbook beta quadra eyes. Scarlett Johansson has beta quadra eyes as well. There's a lot of beta quadra eyes. I mean, it's like there's a lot of actresses have beta. They tend to cast a lot of NFJs, I think, in actress roles. So, big-eyed actress. I'll type into Google. No, not videos, images. Well, this looks like beta quadra eyes. Let's see. Open image in new tab. Well, Amanda Seyfried. Have you ever heard of Amanda Seyfried? Type her name in. Amanda Seyfried has very beta quadra features. And if you look her up, I don't know who she is exactly, but she's super beta quadra looking. Also, this girl, the girl who plays, who does the voice of the teenage girl in Family Guy, she's got very beta quadra eyes. What's her name? Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis has very beta quadra eyes, and so does that other lady I just said, whose name I just said. Who else do I see here? It looks really beta quadra. Mila Kunis is super beta quadra looking. Like her face is really dominated by her eyes, you know? Rooney Mara? I don't know who Rooney Mara is. You had the luxury of sitting back, deflecting. You present all that is wrong with this setup and furthermore reinforces fallacy, big guy you are. Man, what do you think I'm presenting as right now? I'm talking about person versus personality. In other words, the extent to which, this is the original topic anyway, the extent to which people are expressions of a pattern and the extent to which people are expressions of nurture. I'm not trying to, deflecting what? deflecting your fucking pointless attacks? Yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Be hurt by them? I think that timeout's appropriate. It's ridiculous what you're saying. I'm just hanging out, trying to have a good time, and you're just trying to shit on me, you know? Rachel's got beta quadra eyes. Yeah. Delilah does too. My daughter is an ESTP. She's got beta quadra eyes. They bug out, you know? Like mine are all sunk in. Beta quadra eyes bug out. Not in an ugly way, just compared to my eyes, you know? They're very expressive. Big eyes are expressive, which is why the people like to cast them in movies and stuff, you know? Well, like I said, it's not something I use to type people, okay? I agree that there are exceptions, that there are some big-eyed people who are not beta quadra, and there are some beta quadra people who do not have big eyes. So I'm not saying you should use that to type people. I'm not promoting Baltology or other physical cues as a way of typing people. But I do use that expression. Yeah, it really is the same thing in different clothing. I mean, the thing is, of course, I am not at all unwilling to learn from people. If you got something to come in here and teach me, come in here and teach it to me. You know? I'm happy to learn it. I think some people just don't like the way I carry myself or something. You know? That I commit the unpardonable sin of being confident, which plays as arrogance sometimes. And, you know, too knowing, too pedantic. And I get that that's an effy area of growth for me. You know, I don't want to come across that way. You know, it gets a little frustrating spending a lot of time getting dragged into conversations about nothing, right? And about cause and effect, and I put too much emphasis on the cause and blah, blah, blah. If that's really what you want to say, why don't you just come right out and say that? Or give me an example, for God's sake. Like, for example, in this one time, this person went like this, blah, blah, blah. And you jumped on it and you said, no, blah, blah. But really, they were being more subtle and you were missing the subtext there or something. I don't doubt that you can find examples like that, you know? But that doesn't mean it typifies my whatever. Doesn't mean it typifies my whatever, all right? Well, yeah, I think I'm probably gonna end up doing that with Rachel, make a channel where we just do compatibility between different types. 10-minute long videos or something. We kind of script out, sort of half script it, or just outline it ahead of time. Practice it once, do it. Yeah. Post like one a day. And then a new channel and just see what happens. I think it's worth doing. Yeah, I'm still streaming for a little bit longer. The Lila stopped by today and hooked me up. So actually I went over there. My mistake. I lied accidentally. I told the fib, but it was an accident. She was gonna come over here, but then she didn't feel like it. I went over there. You got a shower? Hey, leave Turner. It's fine. You don't have to shower for me. I like the way you smell when you're sweaty. I always have. Is that leaf trimmer just come back from exercising? I said. No, Eric, that's the smell of your own nutsack. Oh, okay. You're a ram. Delilah was a ram. She went to Temple City High School. In Temple City High School, they are the Rams. So Delilah was a ram. Me, I was an Apache, which I found very offensive because I am a Native American. I'm a member of my own Native American tribe called the Arcadia Indian tribe. So it's like, hey, I'm not an Apache. There are foreign enemies. Yeah, similar smell. Smells like nutsack and cut grass. When the leaf trimmer gets back from the mulch factory, he always smells like nutsack and cut grass. You were the Rams, Winston's mom. You and Delilah have something in common, except the Temple City Rams were green and gold, green and yellow, different colors. I was an Apache. We were red and cardinal and gold, same color as USC. And we're still the Apaches, believe it or not. Arcadia High School hasn't changed its name yet. We're still the Apaches. So I don't know. Maybe we'll change our name soon. I wasn't bashing leaf trimmer. I love that smell. Cochise was an Apache. What about Tonto? What was Tonto? He's just generic Indian, or did he have a tribe? Yes, this is the house I grew up in. Although, when I grew up here, this room didn't exist. This is part of the remodel that was done when I was 18. This little back house here. Oh, yeah. There's nothing I love better than the smell of grass trimmings and nutsack. It's a gamey smell. It's a rich, gamey, loamy smell. The house no longer grows. It's fully grown. I'm glad to be back here because how do you address skid marks on sheets after sex? You lost your celibacy? What are you, Morrissey? You don't. You can just strip the bed of the sheets, put on some new sheets if you have some, ideally. Wash them. Wipe your ass better in the future. I don't know. What is good? Things that aren't bad. Tonto's either a Comanche or a Potawatomi. Why is he either one of those two? Like, how could well, YouTube's rules changed. My auto upload scheme became, non grata, and so et cetera, et cetera. Did Tonto in one episode answer the question that way? Lone Ranger's like, by the way, Tonto, what kind of Indian are you? And he's like, well, I'm either a Comanche or a Potawatomi. Like, you don't know? I'm like Jeff Shaw. I like to be enigmatic. What was Tonto doing hanging out with the Lone Ranger anyway? Why were they partnered up in the first place? What's the story behind that? What's the backstory there? What is the backstory on Tonto and the Lone Ranger? Is he like his manservant or something? Just for your reference, MT, they changed the name to Bampate. So please correct it. They thought Tampa Bay had a bad reputation. Yeah, that's a good idea, Carmen Spence. You're spewing out the good advice tonight. Clean yourself before sex. Good idea. So much less gross than not doing so. I always clean myself before sexual intercourse. At the very least, I clean my undercarriage. Well, in my capacity as Dr. Lionel Sprinting Wolf Kazaquo, I am 132nd Native American. My Native American name is Sprinting Wolf. And if you would like to join me among the Sprinting Wolves, stop crawling like a little cub, then you'll need to take one of Lionel Sprinting Wolf Kazaquo's self-growth symposiums. Only $1,000 for 4 45-minute sessions with me, Dr. Lionel Sprinting Wolf Kazaquo, where I will teach you, Tiny Man 66, to stop crawling like a cub and start sprinting like a wolf. What do you think? Do you want to pay $1,000 for 4 45-minute sessions with me, Dr. Lionel Sprinting Wolf Kazaquo? You know I'm a real spirit guide because I'm 132nd Native American. Oh. Well, they need to make her take a bath first, obviously. She did a poor job of wiping her ass. God. Ew. I hate smelling anything at all when I'm having sex. I don't want to smell a goddamn thing except Febreze. Why don't we do it in the road? 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 Nobody's watching now. Why don't we do it in the road? MG wins the answer to the question, why don't we do it in the road? Because cars, because asphalt, because lack of privacy, because of inclement weather, or because we hate the Beatles. That's a good poll question. Why don't we do it in the road? Because cars. Because no privacy. Because inclement weather. Because asphalt burns. Or because we hate the Beatles. No one will be watching us. Why don't we do it in the road? I mean, you gotta think, like, at any given moment, if you were to bend me over and get behind me, you'd probably smell some ass, So that's why girls should always take a bath right before sex. Never made any pro-cancer songs. You were such a dick, such an asshole, such an awful guy, that I love to see you suffer from cancer and watch you slowly die. Like that? That would be a pro-cancer song, I guess. There was a boy who only walked on one side of the street and ignored the entire street. Posed a lot of problems. Why did that pose a lot of problems? I'm not sure why. I mean, he would always continue going in one direction, right? Or could he turn around as long as he's on the same side of the street? Okay, cool. You gotta bring Rachel along too, though. Flatulence really is an overly elegant word for what it means. I'm gonna agree with you there. Add this defenestration. It's a lot more elegant than a word needs to be when it means throwing someone out the window. You know? My vision is skewed and not all encompassing. Oh, thanks. We appreciate it. We are big cheese eaters. Just to let you know, we're pretty spoiled. We're pretty lazy. You'll probably get sick of us pretty quickly. But, you know, you're the one who wants to enslave us, so that's on you. It would be derectistration. Derectistration is a fancy word of saying pooping. I derectistrated this feces. Well, watch as I derectistrate. Derectistrating is kind of like delineriterating. Delinerate is a word I made up that means to both delineate and iterate at the same time. And so if you engage in the process of delineriterating, then you have created a delineration. And if you want to collect paraphernalia associated with delineration, then you get delineritophernalia. Delineritophernalia. Yeah, it's half delineation and half iteration, MT. It's a combo word. It's a portmanteau, if you will. Okay? Delineration. The key thing is, I like to collect delineritophernalia. I have one of the most spectacular delineritophernalia collections in all the world. That's the leftover concrete objects or ephemera from processes of delineration. You done with OPP? You can't delineate me. You done with OPP? Don't delineate me. Those are the original lyrics of that song, so they changed them. Well, you know, I've been accused on occasion of being a little turgid in my delineation. I say, hey, there's nothing turgid about my delineation. And they go, what are we talking about? And I go, I'm not sure. All I know is I felt attacked. I'm a blue ribbon delineator. I am. I won the blue ribbon at the county fair in the category of professional delineation. So were all my partner's butter bodies? Does that mean like chubby bubs or whatever? No, I've had a total mix of different body types in terms of women. My first girlfriend when I was 18 was very skinny. Had kind of like a boy's body, I guess you would say. She was like 98 pounds or something. But cute as a button, you know. Anyway, And then I had Melinda, who was Delilah's mom. I don't think she's very attractive. She kind of had she had a good body, but she had small breasts. She had, not that that's a problem, but she had a good body for bearing children. She had childbearing hips. My second wife was unattractive by conventional metrics, but she was an excellent mother to my child, and it was a good marriage. And that woman I was carrying on with for a while, she was very conventionally attractive. Kimberly, not so conventionally attractive. Rachel, conventionally attractive. So I've been with all kinds of different women. I don't see that as like I'm a big player or whatever. I'm to be perfectly frank, I'm not particularly shallow. I am enjoying Rachel a lot, like, a big difference between 36 and 50, in terms of a woman's body. But I'm enjoying her gravity defying boobs quite a bit. But the point is, I care about Rachel as a human being. Sex is something that happens in a relationship, and sex is important and whatever, but Rachel is heavier now than when I first got with her, but I'm not less attracted to her now. The thing is, of course, you have sex with the body and you have sex with a human being. And ultimately, having sex with the right human being is more important than having sex with the right body. However, you shouldn't discount body entirely. So it's like, I was in a relationship, my second marriage, where I really was not attracted to her sexually. And we nevertheless had sex periodically and stuff, but it's like, it's a lot better now. Things are a lot better. I have a lot more sex now than I've ever had in any long-term relationship before. Usually in every long-term relationship, after about 6 months, it starts to trickle off. If anything, I think Rachel and I probably have about the same amount of sex as we always have had. So, I don't think that's out of character for FI Polar. FI is an absolute value in the 7th slot. It's important to remember that. FI is really important. I care about Rachel a lot. I care about her feelings a lot. And I want her to be happy and feel like she makes me happy as well, which she does. So, I'm just, Rachel and I could hardly have been, you can hardly imagine two people being in a more intimate circumstance than Rachel and I have been in for the last year and a half, mostly, Part of it she spent in New York, but we've been through very dramatic times. We've been through big problems and big, like upheavals and stuff. And we've spent a lot of time together in close quarters. And we just fit, If there were parts of us that rubbed against each other, by now they would have rubbed plenty raw. It's like the amount of time that she and I spend together is, you can hardly imagine any two people spending more time together. We spend all day, every day together, doing everything together. And the times that you see us not together, it's usually because it's after she goes to bed, or before she gets up. There's an old saying that if a newlywed couple puts one bean into a jar each time they have sex the first year, the second they take a bean out every time they have sex, the jar never empties. The thing is, here's the deal about body positivity. Nobody wants to be any kind of poster child for body positivity, because that means they're positioning themselves as not conventionally attractive, right? So it's a really tricky thing to deal with. I've always had I've always had strong feelings about body image stuff and how damaging it is to like body shame, especially weight. I've never had any. Maybe it's because I've never been heavy at all, right? Like this is the fattest I've ever been in my life at 194 pounds. And I don't know why exactly this would turn out this way, but perhaps it links to that I find it especially offensive when people fat shame in any capacity. It really makes me angry. I don't know why. SE8, that's why I find it so offensive. Possibly. ENTPs and ENFPs. I'd say it's also SI4. Like, you could say, I can't conceive of myself having to diet, for example. Trying to force myself to be hungry all the time in order to maintain some appearance for some external party. To me, that sounds like fucking torture. So I would never try to impose it on anybody else, That I don't like to have to pay attention to my SI very much at all. So I think it's wrong to think that other people should have to pay attention to their SI. I think that's maybe a better explanation than SE8, which is also necessarily implied by SI4, but I don't think provides quite as much of an explanation, maybe. It does necessarily imply having to pay attention to your SI more than I want to, right? Like, presumably, if you were going to talk to me about my diet, you might not talk to me about eating less. You'd talk to me about eating more fruits and vegetables or something, right? If you were going to talk to me about my health, you'd talk to me about don't smoke. And I'm like, fuck you. That's my SI. You ain't never going to get hold of it. it's okay, Tiny Man 66. I don't view it as a sob story. I view it as a sob reality. You know, it fucking sucks that people have all these external bullshits imposed upon them. I don't like it. I mean, the thing is, I don't like people being judged a lot in general across the board. So I'm opposed to judginess. I'm opposed to teasing. I'm opposed to bullying. I'm opposed to people being mean to each other. And yet sometimes I get accused of those things too, you know? So it's a curious state of affairs. I've been accused of being a bully plenty of times, but I fucking can't stand anything that smells of bullying. Well, Rachel has the benefit of like probably half of the added weight she puts on goes directly to her tits. So that's pretty nice. She is well qualified to make an addition of big naturals at this point. Maybe Mamazons, you know. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old school big tit magazines, but if you are, you may have, like me, purchased a copy or two of Big Naturals back in the day. You may have maybe even purchased a copy of Mamazons back in the day. I'm not going to deny it. I was always kind of fascinated by boobs, you know. What is it about them? I wonder. They're so round is the thing. And boobish. It doesn't make any sense. They're just bumps on a woman's chest. Why should I find myself looking at them? You know, why should I be interested in them? It doesn't make any sense, right? They're just bumps on a woman's chest, but they have this incredible power. Fish, would you like some food? How about I give you some then? I bet you'd enjoy some food. It's one of your favorite things to eat. So as far as investing goes, somebody mentioned investing earlier. I currently am about $100 down on my crypto investment. Thanks to Bitcoin Cash. You know, it was the last one I bought out of all of them. But I looked at the years thing, and it was just barely above zero for the year. And it had been way up there. I thought, okay, this is probably going to go back up a ways before it dropped back down. I had my doubts about it. But anyway, until I'm down about probably 10% at the moment. I was up like $300 for a while on my crypto investment. I invested like $1,300. Well, with all the fees and everything, I figured it out to be $1,360. So at one point it was like $1,660. But I don't have FI tool. I am a particularly moist ENTP, though. I think as ENTPs go, I'm of the Jeremiah Isaiah Rude school of ENTP. I am soft as fuck in some ways, you know. It's like I'm definitely a big softie, you know, deep down, but I'm not irrational about it like ENTPs, right? Oh yeah. I know. I this is just a little experiment. I'm holding on to this some of this money in Bitcoin and Litecoin, Ethereum, and also a little bit of Bitcoin Cash. Just for a couple of more weeks till I need to pull it out to pay for the next step of dentistry. If I lose a couple $100 on it, no big whoops. If it goes back up, I make a couple $100 on it. Great, So it's Well, Elon tweets one day, fucking Bill Gates tweets back the next day, and the markets go pew pew pew. I was talking with Rachel about this. I don't think anybody actually believes that there are actual cues or clues that mean anything. I think that everybody believes other people think that they are clues that mean things, right? Nobody actually thinks that Elon Musk's perspective or Bill Gates' perspective is a meaningful gauge of the validity of the thing. They just think that other people are going to think that, and therefore they buy or sell accordingly, Because it's not like a company where the health of the company links to the value of the stock, right? It's just a matter of scarcity and demand. The thing is, it can be used as a currency. That's the other weird thing about it is, yes, you can buy things with Bitcoin or even maybe with Litecoin or Ethereum or something. But almost nobody uses it as a currency because it's so fucking volatile, I mean, if I pay you $15,000 for a car today in Bitcoin, it may be worth $10,000 tomorrow, or it may be worth $20,000 tomorrow, So by and large, even though it's perfectly feasible to use any of these cryptocurrencies as actual currencies, they aren't usually used as currencies. They're accepted as currencies by people who want to invest in them as though they were commodities of increasing value. Kind of like real estate, really, is the best comparison. It's like it'll go up in value because there will always be more people and fewer in the same amount of space. Of course, the total amount of a given cryptocurrency in circulation does increase, but the speed of the increase of the supply slows down over time. So anyway, long term, all crypto is going to zero. That's your prediction. It's currently a fad. In the meantime, who knows what it will do? Right. Well, I don't think all crypto will go to zero. I wonder if it's possible all crypto except Bitcoin will functionally lose all of its value. I think there will be the thing about crypto is there are all these different possible cryptocurrencies, and there are advantages to using cryptocurrencies in certain circumstances. But the kind of cryptocurrencies that are advantageous because they leave no trace are also the kind of cryptocurrencies that are very difficult to purchase or to acquire because you're trying to get around government regulation and government reporting and stuff. It's not useless as a currency. The problem is its utility is in getting around governments and other things like that. And so there's a vested interest in not making legal regulated markets for currencies that successfully bypass any regulation, right? But regardless, it nevertheless remains the case that cryptocurrencies are expressions of value generated by attention. So if we remember that creating a new wealth in the world is meaningfully applying your attention towards some sort of work that's useful in some regard to someone, that creates new wealth in the world. If we understand that concept, then we recognize that cryptocurrency is the natural consequence of us being able to naturally and implicitly and inherently convert attention into wealth. So there is an underlying mechanistic logic to it, but it's not the one that people typically think. The one that people typically think is the underlying mechanistic logic to it is that it's fungible. It functions like a currency. It has scarcity like a currency. It gets mined like gold or something like that. And so it makes for a perfect currency, a better currency, for example, than any fiat currency because it's not counterfeitable and it's decentralized. So there are plenty of reasons to think that cryptocurrency is an advantageous alternative to fiat currencies. However, that's not why they work. That's not why they actually have value at all. The real reason is because you directed your computer, somebody did, to paying attention to that. And that's where the value came from. That's where the wealth came from. Attention directed towards generates wealth. So it's a weird reality of the digital world, you know? It didn't used to be the case that was feasible. No, presumably, you know, for each of the cryptos, there's a it's laid out ahead of time, the algorithm of mining. So in other words, it becomes increasingly difficult to mine crypto the further it gets away from the launch point. Does it ever completely tap out? Well, I'm not sure about that, but it functionally does when it takes huge amounts of effort to mine a fraction of a coin, right? But it's like when I talk about my US crypto UBI plan, it all makes perfect sense. And the important element that it would give the crypto USD an additional degree of legitimacy is that it would be legal tender to pay your taxes with. So now all of a sudden you've got to tie it into fiat as well. And so, in other words, you have a crypto standard, basically currency. No, because it's done on like a ratio kind of approach, right? In other words, if shit tons of computing energy is put in right away, then it very quickly becomes very difficult, and the amount of computing energy put in the required goes up. You know, it's not like it's not responsive. It's a responsive algorithm. So at least if it's a well-designed cryptocurrency, it is. It should be able to account for all those things and not fall victim to them. The thing is, the reason it's difficult to say that cryptocurrencies are just a pyramid scheme of some sort is because people really did direct their computers to doing that stuff rather than something else. In other words, there's an opportunity cost there, and it paid off. As far as Dogecoin goes, now the thing is, Dogecoin suggests to me an example of, every kind of work does. Physics defines work as a consumption of energy, right? So, yeah, it does consume energy. That's what it means to do work. That's why it's so silly to try to eliminate energy consumption. Instead of eliminating energy consumption, let's solve the problems that energy consumption currently cause, right? It makes so much more sense. As I've made the simile many times before, or analogy or whatever it is, When cities became overwhelmed with human waste, they didn't try to get people to poop and pee less. They figured out sewers. Dogecoin seems like much more of a pyramid kind of a scheme because it sort of was picked at random to take advantage of the nature of speculative markets, right? Now, all crypto is somewhat susceptible to that you get speculators who are there to try to hit the peaks and valleys of the volatility, right? So if you're dealing with fairly large amounts of money and, your Litecoin goes up 10% in one day, you sell at the end of the day, you do what's called profit taking, and you wait for it to drop again, you buy, blah, blah, blah. If you can successfully pull that off, you're what's called a day trader. But the average Bitcoin transaction fee is $23. Okay, so the thing is, for PayPal, the transaction fee is $9 per $500. So it's $18 per $1,000 worth of purchase stuff. I don't know if you have to pay that on the other end or not, because I've not sold it yet. If you do, then you're talking about, $36 that you have to subtract from the gains you make in order to get your accurate numbers of profit, right? So that's buying it on PayPal. It's 18%, which is pretty high fee. And so it's like there are a lot of kinds of speculation that the rake gets you. Okay, so it's like if I were to play a lot of cash poker games, you better be really good or else the rake is going to get you. In other words, you can only really play and win or lose big pots, because if you play small pots, you lose half the pot to the casino. That's why it's generally better to play in poker tournaments than it is in cash games, unless you're super good at cash games. It's like with stock trading, you can trade stocks with much lower fees. Of course, you're playing with much thinner margins too. So there was one day when Litecoin went up 17% in one day. It's like, wow, shit. If I had $10,000 invested in Litecoin that day and decided to sell at the end of that day, it would be worth 17% more than 10,000. 17% of 10,000 is, I guess, $1,700. So it would be $11,700 to make a quick almost $2,000 in one day if I had that kind of money to invest in it, right? Of course, might drop 20% too. The nice thing about these cryptos is if you look at the charts over the course of like the year, the week, the month, you want to avoid, in my opinion, you want to avoid ones that are at their all-time high, right? That's not a good time to buy. If I see that it was earlier up here and now it's dropped down to here, well, I'll buy it and hold on to it for a while, see what happens. That didn't pay off with Bitcoin Cash, whereas Litecoin, which I think was, not that far off its all-time high, but had been very slow growing, has continued to increase in value. The thing is, I'm not one to put a lot of eggs in that kind of a basket. To the extent that I had money to invest, I'd probably invest more long term in either real estate or probably real estate is the smartest thing to invest in. But Well, I have not heard of psychosophy. Logic, volition, emotion, physics. I mean, the thing is, Upton plates 48. What a lot of people tend to forget when they're having conversations like this with me is that half the time I'm making silly jokes, right? I am not defined so much by my logic as it seems when I'm having this kind of conversation. In fact, I'm much less defined by my logic than it seems most of the time, probably. It's not an absolute value for me. I'm accustomed to doing it. But, I'm much more ultimately about creativity than I am about logic. And so if you're going to say that I'm mostly logic, volition, emotion, and physics, well, I'd say, well, where's the main part of me? The part that makes up little random songs and stuff. Because to me, that's really the main part of me. All this arguing stuff is stuff that gets pushed upon me by the external world because they either ask questions, I have to explain things, or they make statements that I disagree with, and I have to disagree with them, or But a lot of times I'll start one of these live streams with a basic concept of mine, like I did this time, that there are some types who are much more inclined to see individuals as people, and other types that are much more inclined to see individuals as examples of a personality type or examples of a kind of person. And it probably links to NI. The NI polar people don't really buy the idea that you're made by something other than your experience. But of course, this conversation has been very wide ranging, somewhat adversarial when Jeff Shaw was here, as I was trying to once again fend off his. I don't even know what you call that thing he does. What would you call that thing that he's doing? Anybody have a good name for that thing he does? I guess I called it earlier Guru Theater. That's a good name for it. Guru Theater. Well, if you can think of a better one, that's fine too. I don't know. Guru's aerobic. Guru's size. Let's Guru's size, everyone. Everybody put your hands together. And mystic gestures and metaphor, mystic gestures and references. Psychosophy. Farmal Hot. What's Farmal Hot doing there? Who's Farmal Hot? Is he some author or something about psychosophy? Now I want to know. Is Farmal Hot Alexander Klebuschev? Psychosophy is a theory of personality created by Russian writer A. Afanasyev in his book, The Syntax of Love. It also suggests there are 24 types of people. Each type has its own features. The basis of the theory, 4 functions. E is emotion, L is logic, P is physics, and W is will. 1 is strong and sometimes egoistic. 2 is a strong but flexible function. 3 is a weak function which wants to look strong. And 4 is a weak and calm function. Okay, so in this case, I would be LWEP? LWEP, I think I'd be. I'd be an LWEP. Let's see. Okay. LEPWL. Right. Okay, but I'm LWEP. Tell me about that one. I want to know. LWEP. LW. Okay. So it's like duality in that the one four are supposed to be flipped and the 2 3 are supposed to be flipped. Okay, for the ideal relationship. So, I would say Rachel is probably and E. Huh. I guess like EWLP. She's probably an EWLP. So that would mean I would need to be a PLWE, which I'm not. But I don't know. Oh, there's a test. There's a test. I'm going to take the test. That'll be fun. Do people find you emotional? I'm going to ask you guys to answer the questions for me, okay? Here we go. You guys answer these questions for me. Do people find me emotional? Do you find me emotional, people? Yes. Okay. Next. Do I like cooking? Not really. I don't hate it, but okay. I'm putting no for do I like cooking. Do I have a passion to tell your theories and stories? I'm going to say yes to that one. I'm assuming you guys are going to agree that the answer is yes. Is your memory well or ill? You mean poor, Alexander Klebuschev? Do you mean poor? Is my memory poor? Is my memory well? Yes or no? Well, you answer this one. I don't know. The other ones were obvious. This one is: do I have a good memory or not? Yes or no? No. Okay. No. Do you have a habit to analyze everything around you? Do I have a habit to analyze everything around me? Do I have a habit to analyze everything around me? Yes or no? I'm going to say yes. Is anybody going to dispute that? If anybody thinks I should not marry the answer yes to this question, speak now or forever hold your peas. Okay, yes. Would you say that money is not so important? Would I say that money is not so important? I kind of do say that, don't I? I think I do say that. Money is important, but I wish it weren't important. I wish it's like I don't like it being important. Would you say money is not so important? Yes, I would say that. Is it difficult for me to break up with someone? Yes. That's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer. Yes, it's difficult for me to break up with someone. They have to give me an adequately good justification that I can present. Is it difficult for me to say no? No. Do you do everything your own way, even if others tell you different? What do you think? Do I do everything my own way, even if others tell me different? Do I do everything my own way, even if others tell me different? Yes. Am I stubborn like that? You reply, fuck you to stop smoking. Good point. Do you usually trust authorities? Do I usually trust authorities? You're welcome, Leaf Tremor. Although I have to admit, I wasn't explicitly waiting for you. We could pretend that was the case if you'd like. Do I usually trust authorities? I'm waiting for you guys to tell me how to answer this question. I am neutral on my trust to authorities. I'm going to say no because... Do you like discussions? Do I like discussions? Do I like discussions? I was talking about how every time you come around Leaf Tremor, there's a strong scent of freshly cut grass and testicles, or nut sack, as you might say. I'm going to say yes, I like discussions, but not enough to want to discuss it further here at this moment. I'm going to say yes. Do I like to intrigue people? Do I like to intrigue people? What do you guys think? Do I like to be intriguing or de-intriguing? I'm very de-intriguing. As soon as somebody sees me, they lose interest. I'm going to say, what is the answer? Yes, I do like to intrigue people. I think I do. Am I intriguing you right now by asking you this question? Do you find it intriguing? No, I like intriguing people. Do I like romantic people? What do you think? Do I like romantic people? You've never seen me try to be intriguing? Oh, well, do you think intriguing is like, trying to be enigmatic? Or I like it when people are intrigued by me. If you put it in the passive voice, I think I could affirm that correctly. Do I like romantic people, though, is a new question. I'm waiting for the answer to that. Do I like romantic people or not? I don't think of myself as liking romantic people, but if you guys insist I do, then I'll say yes. I know, says Sky Gear. Okay. Are emotions not so important in your life? Are emotions not so important in my life? I mean, first of all, why is the question phrased like this? Are emotions not so important in your life? If I say yes, then I'm saying yes, they are not so important in my life. And if I'm saying no, they are not so important in my life. They're a big part. Okay, I'll put no, yes, which means they are important, I guess. I can't tell what means what in this question. Emotions not so important in your life? Yes or no? No, they're not so. No, they are important in my life. I'll put no. I don't know what the question is. Do you usually calm in stressful situations? Do I usually calm in stressful situations? Do I usually calm in stressful situations? Or do I usually stress in calmful situations? Look, do I usually calm in stressful situations? You're saying no? No, this is a test of your, I forget what it's called, something. So do I usually calm in stressful situations? That's what I need to know. No, I don't usually calm. I usually throw a fit. Okay, I'll put no. Do I have a passion to analyze everything around? I think you already asked me that question, Tess. I'm going to say yes. I don't know if it's really a passion. It might be a rash instead of a passion. What do you think? Do I have passion to analyze everything around? Actually, go ahead. Yes, fine. Do I try to avoid empty talks? What comprises an empty talk? Right. Do I try to avoid empty talks? No, I don't think those poop talks are empty. I say yes, I do try to avoid empty talks. I like purposeful conversations that do something. I'm disagreeing with you on that one. Do I try to hide my actual emotions from most people? No. Do you usually notice if someone is lying to you? Yeah. Am I pedantic? Am I pedantic? It's just because something is intended to be humorous or curious or unusual doesn't mean it's empty. Empty talk is like nice weather we've been having, right? Yep, sure enough, sure enough. Yes, I'm pedantic. Okay. Yes, I'm pedantic. Do you worry about your health too much? No. If you see a suffering person, do you feel his pain is your own? Yes. Do you hate raunch very much? I don't know. Sky Garrett, when your mom's done wiping my man seed off of her face, can you ask her if I hate raunch very much? Yes, I'm pedantic by most people's standards, Sky Garrett. You're applying INTP standards to me. You usually tolerate if something is uncomfortable to you? Not very well. Do I tolerate things that are uncomfortable to me? How much do I tolerate things that are uncomfortable to me? I'm taking this test. It's on the link's up here someplace. Somebody linked to it. It's https://fommelhot.su. I guess it's Fommelhot. I don't know. I guess it's Fommelhot's website. It's the only where it's the name doesn't say Fommelhot. It says Alexander Klevschev. Okay. Do I usually tolerate if something's uncomfortable to me? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to say no. I don't like being uncomfortable. Are you constrained being in a new place? No. Do you hate truly callous people much? Do I hate truly callous people much? Okay, Okay, well, the actual thing's not wrong. It's the actual thing's just being a ridiculous whore. I guess. I don't know. The joke is the funny part. The fact that it's a joke about your mom, Skygear, well, that's just what makes it so personally precious to you. Hey, Eric took the time to personalize that man seed wiping joke to me and my mom. I am so loved. Do I truly hate callous people much? Do I hate truly callous people much? I don't know how to answer that question. I say no. Are you an artistic person? Yes, I am. I am an artiste with art. Am I a pragmatic person? I'm going to be honest and say no. Are you the person who likes relaxing on a large scale? I do like relaxing on a large scale. I like the way these questions are worded too. Are you afraid much of losing respect from other people? No. Not because it wouldn't bother me if it happened, but rather because I just don't think it's going to happen. In other words, I feel like I understand all the conditions under which I would lose everybody's respect, and it will require me to do meow, 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 meow. And I'm not going to do any of those things. So I feel safe, you know? Are you capable to laugh at yourself in public? Yes. If there's something funny to laugh about. Are you usually very worried about offenses? No, not really. Are you a curious person generally? Yeah, I'm pretty curious. Are you attentive to detail? Am I attentive to detail? Hey, you guys. Hey, guys. Hey. Am I attentive to detail? I'm attending to this detail. What am I? Am I attentive to detail? Am I Legends Fall? You're right. It is exactly what the rest of what the world needs. TinyMan66, hey, that's not answering my question. Am I attentive to detail? Not in a billion years. I'm going to push no. Oh, am I attentive to detail when I'm playing my instrument? I try to be. Do you like a studying process generally? No. I don't think so. Well, I mean, it depends, right? Do I like a studying process? I hate studying like in school. You know, I hated studying in school. But it doesn't mean I don't study things. Do I like a studying process generally? Somebody answer my question for me. Do I like a studying process generally? Yes or no? Nobody's telling me the answer. I don't know the answer to this question. I need somebody to tell me. Do I like a studying process generally? I do not like a studying process. Okay, good. Thank you. Do I hate injustice much? Yes, I hate injustice much. Do others find you a discreet person? No. Are your emotions the most important thing in your life? No. Are you a dreamer? You might call me a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Do you forgive people always during the time? Do you forgive people always during the time? What kind of a fucking question is that? Do I forgive people always during the time? During what time? Like after a while, you mean? Do I forgive people always during the time? Can somebody tell me? Do I forgive people always during the time? Do I or not? I'm not sure. Fommel's purchased plenty of forgiveness from me. So, yes, absolutely. You'll hear no shit talking from me about Fommel on. You think it means you forgive people immediately? Generally, I do, actually. It's very easy for me to forgive and forget. I'm going to put yes. But there are exceptions. There are a couple of exceptions. You got to really fuck up badly, though. Do you value your own problems less than problems of valuable people for you? Yeah. True dat. True dat. Do you usually finish tasks at the last moment? Yeah. Even still. It'll be like, I got to have, prepared for when I meet with Jeffrey in 30 minutes. I better start doing it right now. Do some people find you confident? I mean, who would answer that question? No. To answer question 43, no, which is, do some people find you confident? You'd literally have to assert that nobody finds you confident. Do you usually help people for nothing in return? Yeah, I do a fair amount of that, I guess. Do you like to be responsible for other people? No. Not in general. LEPW. According to this, I'm an LEPW. You have a strong inner passion to logical analysis. Your brain is constantly analyzing, rating, trying to find the truth out. And it relates to every part of life. Inside of you, there's a big, immutable picture of the words, which is constantly being improved by your experience. You like smart people, but usually you don't aim to share your experience with others. You prefer to provide ready, logical results instead of thinking processes. You don't like empty talks. You don't talk very much with people around, but you always talk clear. Does it fit me well? It's not true that I don't talk very much with people around. But other than that, a lot of it is true. I'll say, yeah, it fits me pretty well. You are emotionally liberated, emotionally liberated. You like playing with emotions. You do it prettily and subtly. You are a person who's able to distinguish 50 shades of smile, sight, or other sorts of emotions. Lying is easy to reveal for you. That's why it's difficult to deceive or manipulate. You're able to support who needs it. You appreciate deep, kind, truly honest people. You hate blind, emotionally people. It's easy for you to be the soul of any team. To fit you well. Not really. I don't think I'm able to distinguish 50 different shades of whatever. 3P, you are a hypersensitive person, which makes you like or dislike many physical senses very much. You like physical comfort, but if it's uncomfortable, sometimes you tolerate it because you are shy to inform about it. You're pedantic. You affect material things even if they are useless. That's not true. Probably in your place there are many beautiful trinkets, and it's a pity to throw them out. Money takes an important part in your life. You try to be handsome or well-groomed. No, it doesn't fit me well at all. 4W. You are a soft and tolerant person. You are able to forgive people if they repent, even after serious mistakes. It's difficult to refuse people, and people around can make a profit from it. But on the other hand, you are always ready to defend your friends and relatives. You defend them more strongly than yourself. You're able to be a true champion or true companion for people whom you love and value. As for self-organization, perhaps you do everything at the last moment. You admire responsible and competent people who know what they purpose. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate of me. I think 1 and 4 are pretty accurate, and 2 and 3 are not. I don't know what that is. What does this translate to? It probably means like submit your results. So it told me I was an LEPW. The test told me I was an LEPW. And I would say no, probably not. I would say I'm probably like maybe LW. No, see, maybe LWEP. With 3E, it says you're an emotional person very much. You're sensitive and vulnerable. It makes you try to be closed from people around. You don't have many people whom you trust. Towards emotions, you value attentiveness, sense of tact, deepness, and sincerity. You're able to notice emotional lie and selfishness immediately, pushes you away. You understand animals well, they like you. Other people find you as a person who's ready to listen, to understand, to yield sensibly. 4P, you're a person for whom mental are more important than material. Of course, material things are not an empty place in your life, but you consider them, you're used to consider it as a way of self-realization. You don't value material things much. You don't affect them to them. Their value is how much profit they can provide. You are not pedantic towards the order of things. The same as about your health. As for comfort, you are unpretentious. This sounds much more like me, actually. Is 2W. You're a soft and flexible person. People around appreciate you for that. You value respect and justice very much. In many cases, it's difficult to say no for you, but not because of weakness, because of your sense of respect towards people. You're capable to find a mutual and reciprocal solution in any situation. You're always polite with people. Not true. You defend people towards whom an injustice takes place. True. You are inclined to negotiate many times in order to manage the situation and clarify details. True. You're always interested in the opinions of others and never ignore anyone. By and large, true. I've had to learn to ignore people. I don't believe, I assume that words are said for a reason and you should respect them, right? I'm a word person. I much better fit up the description LWEP than any of the other ones. What did that person who put that think I was going to be? What did they predict me to be? I declare myself by this taxonomy LWEP. Let me go back and see if I can see what somebody predicted I would be for that. I don't know. Anybody want to remind me what I was predicted to be by that person? Okay. Listen, Paul, I've known for a long time. I'm a Yukon Gold with strong rusted indications. Okay. LWEP. Well, if you want to take the test, it's right here. It's by Alexander Kolobuschev, and it's a fun little test. It's got some strange Google Translate wordings of things in there that I appreciate. Your mom is an ISFP. Don't offend her. Okay, Tiny Man 66 is mom. Hey, what's up? Here I am, not offending you. I like your style. I like what you got going on. You seem like a great lady. There. How was that, Tiny Man 66? Did I do a good job of not offending your mom? But when it comes to the Russet Yukon Gold question, I test like right at 50%. I'm like an ambitate, they call them. It's I have both qualities of both potatoes. When I'm done taking all C.S. Joseph's classes, I'll be able to master all the qualities of all four potatoes. Because, being a kind of potato is really a state of mind. One of the most eye-opening videos for me that I ever watched was how to ego hack a red potato. And it was like mind blown. Talk about wisdom. Talk about clarity. Yeah. One thing I learned from the superpowers is you are often prone to typing yourself as the opposite kind of potato. So, like, let's say you're a small fingerling potato, you're really likely to type yourself as a giant russet for baking, and vice versa. And then, of course, another thing that Dave Superpowers taught me is a lot of what look like fingerling potatoes are actually red potatoes, but they're just a special kind of red potato that looks exactly like a fingerling potato. So I learned a lot from C.S. Joseph and Dave Superpowers about potatoology. It's been incredibly informative. I'm glad I paid for their specialized content. About 10 minutes ago, I was supposed to prepare for something that would happen in 30 minutes. Oh, right, the end of the world? Was that tonight? Was that tonight? Or was the world ending tonight? Did I forget about it? I was going to light a candle and say a prayer. Is that in 20 minutes? Is that at midnight tonight? Fuck. I thought I was supposed to get text updates. Did I not sign up for that properly? Tater tots, of course. Who would answer that question, French fries? No sane person would answer that question, French fries. Look, the important thing to remember up to plate 48 is that there's always a chance that you're a fingerling potato that's mistyped himself as a russet that's actually a russet that looks exactly like a fingerling. Okay? As long as you keep that in mind, you understand Dave Superpowers' way of thinking. Mr. Potato Head is no longer an available toy because him being a mister was offensive in some way. Is he just now a potato head? Or is he potato head? Because that's more of a nod to those awful feminazis, right? Is that what you're saying? Hey, it's Hambone. I heard that me and Hambonzo is rolling in the benzo tonight. Is that true? Are we rolling to the club in the benzo tonight? Did you get some bottles of Cristal and some thoughts to ride in the back of our benzo while we roll to the club drinking scissor? Get woke, go broke. Really? I didn't know they said that. Oh, I'm sorry, Hambone. You didn't want me to share our plans with everybody else? For 79%, you're male. You feel like, dress as, and like to be seen as a man boy. No matter what result you were hoping for, embrace this one and don't be ashamed of who you are. You are you, and you're awesome just the way you are. If some other people can't accept it, that's their problem. You do you. 79%. What does that mean? I don't understand what that means. Did they really change the name of Mr. Potato Head to Potato Head because they didn't like the Mr. part? I mean, look, Legends Fall. Let's not lie to ourselves. Changing his name from Mr. Potato Head to Potato Head did not ruin Mr. Potato Head. I'll tell you one thing it does. It convinces me that the people in charge of the newly named Potato Head do not have control over the Mandela effect. If they did, we'd all believe it was always named Potato Head, except for those few people who recalled that once it was really named Mr. Potato Head. I would like it best if they explained the name change, because people continually got confused thinking this potato head doll could be used as a mister during hot weather. If that were the explanation, I would just embrace it wholeheartedly. I would say, I am so glad they changed the name. I would not want people to purchase this doll believing it to be capable to be used as a mist producing device in the summertime, when in fact it does no such thing. Well, Morridge, why didn't they say that? It's like, why isn't there anybody that smart working at the Mr. Potato Head company? Let's say somebody in the corporation decides we are gonna have to change this name. There's just too much backlash against it. Isn't there anybody in the company smart enough to say, okay, well, fine, let's change it, but let's say we're changing it for this reason? That too many people are mistakenly purchasing this product, believing it to be a mist-producing device that they can attach to their hose in the summer. And as a consequence, we've removed the word Mr. from before Potato Head to alleviate that pattern of misapprehension by the average consumer. Well, I mean, my publicity stunt's better than theirs. My publicity stunt's much more publicity inducing. If asked if that's really the reason, I would simply say, well, that's the reason I can think of that makes the most sense. Can you explain a reason that would make more sense? Well, you know, all this anti-mister stuff. Well, why are people opposed to misters? What's wrong with half the population? Their penis having? Or is it their Y chromosome? Oh, I get it. It's offensive because he's cisgender. So are cisgender people somehow fundamentally dissing transgender people by having a single gender? I mean, I've got two words for that notion. Fuck off. Well, they underestimate the power of my verbiage, because no such bullshit can stand before me. I mean, I see a lot of people out there who are doing one of two things: either coming down hard, positioned against something like that kind of wokeist bullshit, or kowtowing to it, or embracing it wholeheartedly. I'm not doing any of those things, right? I'm assuming you're a regular human being who thinks with regular, decent thoughts, and you're going to treat me like a human being. I'll treat you like that. If you fail to uphold that basic standard of goodness, you shall be fed into the wheat thresher. And believe me, you're not going to come out of it smelling pretty. There's no way to emerge from that smelling pretty. I'm a different kind of creature than has encountered this sort of nonsense before. I'm not opposed to that sort of nonsense because it's that sort of nonsense. I'm opposed to nonsense, including that stupid shit. But the problem is, I'm genuinely opposed to all stupid nonsense of whatever party it comes from, of whatever group, of whatever side, right? And so that's what makes me so much more powerful than other people who oppose that bullshit. Other people who oppose that bullshit are like anti-feminists or, you know, self-identified conservatives or whatever. I'm not any of those things. What happened to Mrs. Potato Head? Is she no longer around or what? Did they get a divorce? Did she become Mer Potato Head? That's her pronoun now. She insists we all call her Mer. I've become a Mer Potato Head. That's why I'm half fish. You don't look half fish. Well, it's just pre-op. I'm pre-op Mer Potato Head. So you're just a regular potato head, right? Well, I self-identify as mer still. I'm getting the hormones to, maximize the conversion of oxygen from water that the lungs do. I'm getting the gill hormone injections already. And, I'm having my legs fused together into a single fin. And I'll be released into the ocean 2 weeks after the operation's done. Finally, I'll be free to be my true self, a mer person. Why should society tell me there's something wrong with me being a merman? Okay, I want to get my legs fused together into a single fin. I want a flap of skin that goes over my junk, so it's just a bump, and then there'll be a hole there for the pee to come out. There'll be a hole in the back for the poo to come out, and just cover me with what are those called? Scales, and that'll help me stay warm in the cold water. Turn these things into fins. Attach a dorsal fin on the back of me. Set me loose in the water. I'm mer-tastic from that point forward. That's when I'm really being me. That's my true gender is merman. The thing is, to be perfectly honest, I'm not wanting to be completely open about this, but I'm actually a merwolf, which is a werewolf that on alternate months turns into a merman or a wolf. Except it's not really alternate months. It's about half the months in a year, which you never know. So you always got to be on that night. You have to be at a place that's both near the woods and near the ocean. You never know whether you're going to turn into a merman or a wolf. I see. So I have another fellow trans merman person out there besides me. Okay. Well, then fine. I'm going to become a tunicorn. It's half unicorn, half tuna. And I'm pretty sure I'll be the only tunicorn out there. First, I'm going to have my bottom half converted into 2 horse legs. That means they're going to have to fold me over, basically, like this, And then the top half will be a tuna fish. And it'll have a horn like a manatee. I will be humankind's first trans tunicorn. Okay? Half tuna, half unicorn. It's the specialist creature in the sea. It's absolutely the specialist creature in the sea because it can both swim and run. I'm not going to watch that right now. No, you can walk and swim as long as you're underwater. The thing about the tunicorn is it's a unique species of creature. It's perfectly designed for feeding on the bottom because when it walks on its back legs, its front falls into the sand. So just, but it's also perfectly adapted for hunting in the middle of the water. Because what it does, it tucks its horse legs underneath to maintain more of its tuna shape. Plus, it's got a big stabbing horn on the top of its head. So when it goes to hunt things, it can always stab them. And then after it stabs it, shake it off of its horn or go rub it horn off of it with some coral and then eat it like that. That's what makes the tunicorn one of the most powerful mythical creatures of the ocean, along with the kraken. Tunicorns and krakens are also often found hanging out together as well. If you ever catch a tunicorn, by the way, throw it back. They're endangered. You're not allowed to catch them. They're hard to catch, by the way, also, because since they generally hunt by stabbing the thing first or by bottom feeding, if you were to stab, if a tunicorn stabs your bait, you're probably just going to pull it off of a torn, right? You're not going to successfully catch the tunicorn. And when the tunicorn sees the fish still reeling away from it after it's been stabbed, it just assumes immortal fish. No point in eating it. They're a fairly logical creature, the tunicorn. If it stabs something with its horn all the way through, and the thing then swims away as though it were unhurt, the tunicorn concludes that thing must be immortal, so there's no further point in trying to eat it. Pretty smart thinking, really. They're one of the few fish species that speaks in clicks and whistles. They go. It's true. Clicks, whistles, and they make that sound a lot too. You go like that. That's the sound of a school of tunicorns chatting over a cup of kelp tea. The windy theory. The true interpretation of The Shining. Look up the windy theory. I'm curious about the windy theory. Is the windy theory basically that they killed each other because they had nothing but Wendy's for the whole winter? I'm just like, I can't eat this shit anymore. And that's why he went on a killing spree? I mean, I believe that. That's a sensible theory. Let's see. Amplify black voices. I am shocked to learn that voices have colors. I did not know that. I want to see this one right to the craziest theories on The Shining in room 237. Okay. It's hard to shake the pivotal scene in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining when young Danny Torrance repeatedly croaks "Red Drum" in a trance and writes the phrase in lipstick on the bedroom door. His mother, Wendy Torrance, sees the reflection of the words in the mirror and has the horrifying revelation that it spells murder backwards. That was just one of the many clever scenes in Kubrick's deliciously deviant horror film that has ingrained in the minds of fans ever since its release in 1980. Rodney Asher, director of the documentary Room 237, had a huge undertaking covering the countless conspiracy theories from the outlandish to the potentially plausible. In a combination of intricately edited video clips and interviews with Kubrick aficionados, from a veteran ABC News correspondent to a history college professor and conspiracy hunter, the film lets audiences peek into an obsessive world largely unfamiliar to them and allows them to fall back in love with the film as if they were watching it anew. When Stephen King wrote the original novel for The Shining, which was reworked by Kubrick for his screenplay adaptation, he based the haunted Overlook Hotel in the 140-room Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. Reporter Bill Blakemore pointed out in room 237 that Kubrick's team exhaustively researched the town and hotel's history, which revealed Navajo tribe tensions with the white men in the early 1900s. And it's evident in The Shining that there is Native American themed artwork in the hotel. However, theorists feel Kubrick is commenting on the genocide of the indigenous tribe. In one scene, Danny suddenly becomes attuned to his surroundings and draws his attention directly to a Calumet baking powder canister on a shelf, which is adorned with the Native American image and traditional garb. Okay. Many have long hypothesized that the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969 was part of an elaborate hoax conceived by NASA and the government. However, room 237 takes that a few steps further and suggests Kubrick was a major player in the event. They trace it back to the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey and claim that movie was used as a research and development project for the actual moon landing footage. The Shining was apparently Kubrick's cathartic release, alluding to the inner struggles he faced holding in this torturous secret. In one indelible scene, Danny is playing alone on the geometrically patterned carpet as he slowly stands up, revealing his Apollo 11 sweater. As he walks towards the eerie room 237, ta-da, the title of the documentary, the audience can see a keychain engraved with the writing room number 237, which conspiracists in the film say is an anagram forming the interchangeable words moon and room. Overreaching, it's up for the audience to decide. It's been rumored that Kubrick had an IQ of 200 and was meticulous about the details in his films, which leads the conspiracy theorists in room 237 to allege that what appears to be continuity errors in The Shining were done on purpose as analogies. Take the scene where Danny is talking to his imaginary friend Tony in the bathroom. While the camera pans toward him in the hallway, along the wall is an image of Dopey from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Danny suddenly gets visions of bloody elevators and faints and is looked over by a doctor. In his bedroom, after the doctor and mother leave, the camera catches on the left that Dopey is missing from the door, which critics take as a sign that Danny is no longer Dopey, but rather enlightened now. The Labyrinth and the Minotaur. The elaborate hedge maze in The Shining is thought by theorists to be a retelling of the mythological tale of Theseus and the Minotaur. Room 237 goes as far as to suggest that when Danny sees the twin girls in the room, posters to the right and left of them are more than meets the eye. Instead of a man skiing in one and a cowboy riding a bull in the other, the two actually represent images of the Minotaur. The Wendy theory is better, huh? Okay, I'm going to end this video now. I'm going to watch the Wendy theory thing and maybe get a little cleaning up done or something before crashing out. I'm not sure. Hi, Adrian B. Sorry to leave just when you got here, but we're going to wrap it up now.